Hi, I'm Cassandra. I'm your social worker. Before we start, do you want to start off with confidentiality? Whatever is said between you and I will stay between you and I. So if you are a harm to yourself or others, that is when I'll have to tell the authorities. Is that okay?
That is fine.
All right, perfect. All right, so could you mind telling me any meaningful transition that happened in your life recently?
I feel like the biggest transition I've had in my life was the loss of my home. My childhood home. I lived there for maybe 5 years of my life, and so basically what had happened was I was at school. Nobody was at home during that time, but all I remember is getting picked up from school and arriving to the home that was basically half destroyed due to a fire that started at a neighbor's house, electrical problems. But yeah, so it was a very big loss. It was my childhood home. The biggest thing probably was the loss of a few like
Momentum, like pictures and stuff.
Pictures and just lots of things that had a lot of meaning and memories to it.
Okay,
But
yeah.
the biggest thing is while we were away, the most important thing that was left in the house was my baby brother's ashes. So the biggest thing with that was it was just a really scary moment because my little brother had passed away I think about 2 years prior to the fire. So his ashes were the only thing remaining in the fire, but luckily the fire didn't reach that room, and yeah, that would have been a great loss, but luckily nothing happened. So with the fire, our home basically gone, so we had to find elsewhere to live for the moment. We spent about 7 months 7 days living in a hotel.
Okay.
And after that it was just hard because I still had to get to school. I was a 5th grader, my brother was a 1st grader, my mom still had to get around work, and it was just hard just carrying everything around, and especially living in a hotel. But luckily after those 7 days, a friend of my mom's let us live in with her for about 3 months, I believe. And during that time it was just very unusual, a different experience. I don't have my own bedroom anymore. I'm sharing a bedroom with my brother and my mom. And it was a huge transition. It's just like my mom couldn't take me to school every day. Sometimes I had to ride with my mom's friend. Just a very not uncomfortable, but in a way I could say awkward, just because I wasn't too comfortable with the living situation, basically. So I finished my 5th grade year living with my mom's friend. But after that she was moving to Texas, so at this point we had to look elsewhere. And that's when one of my uncles offered us a bedroom at his place. And over the summer, 2 months, spent the summer 2 months just living there. It was a little isolated. It was further away from everyone else, so it was just again, it was a different summer. It wasn't my typical summer going out playing with my friends and just going out doing things. I think the biggest thing was just staying in, and my mom working long hours trying to make enough money to pull us through this very, very tragic situation. So it wasn't a very good summer. So I believe from there, after living 2 months there, luckily my grandpa and my mom were able to put in enough money to find a home for us.
Yeah.
So it landed not that far away from my other home.
Yeah.
So it was still in the same old area that I was familiar with. I was close to family, closer to friends. So yeah, that's the new home that we took in. It was just very hard too, just because I wasn't gonna be going to the same school.
Yeah.
And obviously a new neighborhood, new people, just all around, and at the same time it's a place of my own, because at my old place we shared it with my aunt and my uncle.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But this time it was just a own living situation just between me, my mom, and my brothers. So it was a completely whole new experience.
Yeah.
And I believe due to the fire, I slept with in my mom's room with my brothers until the age of 14, which not every young person, as they grow up, they get their own room at the age of 8, 9 or something.
Yeah.
Just because of the fire and just the fear of losing a family member or just losing a home again. So that fear kind of just brought us a lot closer together during that time. So I spent up to the age of 14, sleeping in my parents' room.
Yeah.
Not embarrassed about it, but it was just it was just what was happening at the time,
Yeah.
And so yeah, with that, it's just I grew up sleeping in my parents' room. I really didn't get my own room until I was like 15, 16.
Yeah.
And I was able to I guess live more in peace, not that whole situation happened like a few years prior.
No.
So yeah, and another, I think the biggest thing with just being in a new home, and after the whole fire incident was just being aware of our surroundings. The fire that started that caught my old home on fire was due to a candle being lit too long in my neighbor's home. So what happened is his home got caught on fire and it blew towards us. So in the new home, we would always check for making sure the stove was off, any appliances, making sure everything was disconnected when we left the home, and candles, especially candles, just making sure that we were able to blow those out before we left the home,
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just really, really being aware of our surroundings. If we smelled any smoke outside, first thing we would do is just walk outside, walk around the trailer to make sure there isn't nothing sparked, or just make sure it's not around us. Usually it was just like some sort of neighbor on their burning firewood or something, but it's just that whole situation just brought up a lot of I guess you can say like different,
like you taking more precautions from what has happened in the past before?
Yes, definitely like that. Just taking more precautions and just making sure that we don't fall through that same experience again, because it was a really, really hard childhood for me.
No, it is hard. It's like you lost almost everything. You lost your childhood home. You had almost the possibility of losing something that's really treasured in your family, such as like your brother's ashes. Like you literally just had your whole life like turn 180 because of the fire, and you feel like the fire has made you and your family now grow closer, given that you said that you guys had to share a room until you were 15, and now that you guys are even taking like double checking everything, making sure there's no fire, if there's even like one little small smell of smoke, you guys are alerted.
Yes.
It sounds like you've been through a lot, and you really have. but it looks like you also have learned from it.
Definitely, yeah.
Definitely, you and your family, and I want to say that's really strong. That's very strong of you guys, and I'm really glad that you guys are like closer. What has like changed like with for you, like ever since like you said you guys got the new house?
Yeah, so the biggest thing that changed is just well, after living years of just with my parents and my own room and being aware of everything, my precautions and everything, I was able to find my own place. And the great thing about that is, in a way, I still kind of fear all of that. But whatever I learned from my previous home, I brought into my new home, which, you know, I make sure all the appliances are off before I leave, make sure the stove is off before I walk out of here. Luckily, we actually have fire alarms here, so so if there's any sort of smoke being detected, I'd be alerted right away.
Yeah. What about emotionally? Do you think has it like you said it made your family stronger. What has made you yourself like grow, like learn from it?
I feel it probably would be like in a way like taking charge.
Taking charge.
Just because it's I was so young, you know. My mom, I was probably like 8 years old.
Yeah.
8-10 years old. So just after that and just living in my own home, I in a way kind of put, since it was just me, my mom, and my brothers, there's really no father figure around. So that's where I kind of I feel like I stepped my foot in, and I was just like, you know what, like I need to be as alerted as my mom. I need to in a way take care of this family, you know. Obviously my mom always told me, you know what, like if there's any fires, just remember, take your brothers out, any valuables, like my baby brother's ashes, and grab the cell phone and just walk out of the home and just call 911. Like, my mom put me in a position where I had to take charge, where I would have to take charge at some point, and up to this day, I feel like I still have that. I'm still able to show that trait where I can just in a way put charge and just be like, you know what, like I know what's better. Not that I know what's better, but that I would do anything to take care of this family, just like my mom did for us.
Yeah. And are you like ever had are you like okay with being a father figure, or do you think it's too much stress for you?
It definitely is a lot of stress.
Yeah.
It is stressful, but I feel like it's not, that it is manageable. Me and my brother really didn't have a big father figure, so so in a way I'd like to say my brother was raised by my mom as a mom and father figure, but also I feel like I can be put in that place where my brother has learned a lot from me, you know. And yeah, definitely that. It's the stress is a bit tough sometimes, just because now that I have a younger brother, 5-year-old brother, I still kind of do a lot of fatherly things from a young age that not a lot of like teenagers would do, you know. I feel like there's probably I learned how to change diapers at such a young age. I learned how to take care, babysit, cook at such a young age. So in a way, I feel like that I basically have all these fatherly traits already.
Yeah. Okay. And do you like enjoy doing that?
Definitely. It's wonderful. I feel like I know I'm pretty young, but in a way I can say I'm ready to be a father, just because I have all these I have a few fatherly traits, but also I know a lot of basic skills. I can cook, I can basically take care of a family in those ways.
So you taking care of your brothers has made you feel that you would want to be a father and you would be a good one at that?
Definitely.
Okay. Well, that's nice. I mean, good for you that you feel like very positive about taking the father figure, as you say. What is your relationship with your brothers like? Your younger brother, you said that's your father figure. What about the other one? You said you had two. You spoke about the 5-year-old.
Yeah, the 5-year-old.
What about the other brother? Does he consider you a father figure, or are you guys closer in age?
So with him, we're just 5 years apart, so it's not much of a difference. But
yeah.
During that time, I felt like as if I, in a way, did how do I say this? He looked up to me basically.
Yeah.
At a young age, because as I grew, I noticed him do a lot of things that I would do. Manner-wise, and just being respectful, and a lot of things I feel like he picked up from me. Obviously, when every young man is growing up, they go through a stage, where they're just a little more rebellious and everything, and I went through that with him. It's just he wasn't agreeing with me at certain points, and sometimes I would even feel like he really doesn't care what I have to say to him, or he just, like, at this point, I felt like he really didn't look up to me at this point. But currently, he is a young man. He's 18. And I feel at this point that me and him have bonded a lot closer. Not that we got past his rebellious stage. Me and him have bonded a lot closer. We're a lot closer. We treat each other like two grown men.
Yeah.
I still take care of him, obviously, if he's out having fun, I'll message him like, hey, you okay? If you need anything, message me.
Yeah.
And he works hard, but if he ever is in need of any money or financial help, I'm always going to be there for him, and I feel at this point, since we treat each other like two grown men, I feel like he's looking up to me again, and just respecting everything that's happened in our past and understands from it.
Yeah. So you feel like after the rebellious stage, he's like respecting you and appreciating you more?
Definitely, yeah. He grew, he outgrew his teenage years now, and he's learning to be a man.
Oh, okay. You must be really proud.
Definitely. The most important thing to me is family, and my brothers are,
they're everything to you. It shows. It really is. And it's nice to hear that you have such a close relationship. How about your mom?
My mom, she I guess you can say she always looked up to me as her, like, second man. Second-hand person,
Of course.
Whenever she needed anything, I was always there. When it came to babysitting, and now that I'm growing up, I'm able to drive around and do all of these things for her. So she's always looks for me. I feel like she respects that I'm always there, willing to help her.
Yeah.
When it comes to just picking up my brothers from school or picking up the other one from work, I feel like she respects that I've always been there for her and helped her out in all sorts of situations. So yeah.
So she relies on you a lot?
She does. She really does. Yeah, and that's probably the biggest thing to me. Since she raised me by herself, I've always looked up to her, and I feel like as if I am the person I am today because of her.
Yeah.
I'll do small things here and there, and I realize during that moment, I'm just like, wow, I'm just exactly like her. Like,
yeah.
I was raised by a wonderful woman, and yeah, it's like I said, I was born without a father figure as well, but I'm learning. I'll learn as I go to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your like lack of a father figure has made you respect and love your mom even more?
Definitely. Probably the biggest thing with that is just knowing that there's actual like bad people, like bad men out there, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like if I was still living with my mother and my father, who knows, I could have probably turned out differently. My father wasn't the best person.
Mm-hmm.
He you know, he drank a lot
Mm-hmm.
and he I don't know, I guess he's hit my mom a few times, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So with him out of the picture and just my mom raising me the way to properly treat a woman and how to properly be a human being, you know,
Yeah.
Has taught me a lot, and I'm just so grateful that she was the one that was able to raise me and teach me everything that she knows.
You feel appreciative that she taught you the complete opposite of what your dad has shown you?
Definitely. I stopped seeing my dad around the age of during the time of the fire. Actually, was the time I stopped seeing my dad.
Mm-hmm.
So and then just after that, just hearing stories of him, of how his life is going away from us and everything.
Yeah.
It sounded like he was living a good life as well, you know. But as soon as I got a hold of small details of him just being the same person he was with my mom, I definitely knew that I cannot be the same human being as him.
So the behaviors your dad has shown and what he has done with your mom, it's just like you learned that you could never be someone like him.
Never. I learned how to, thanks to my mom, I definitely learned how to respect women. Obviously, everyone, I treat everyone equally, men and women. But yeah, so my father he was toxic, and I knew if I grew up with him and had him in my life any longer, you know, who knows, I could have probably picked up on any toxic traits. Grateful I didn't. I'm grateful. Everything I learned was based off my mom, and proud of that.
And you show that you are proud. When you said that you're glad you didn't grow up with your dad, did you have a choice in growing up with him, like living with him?
Him and my mom came out with an agreement where I would see him every other week. He had a new family already, so I was okay with the family. I was fine just seeing them and living with them during the weekends, you know. But definitely I did have the option of not living with him, you know. My mom had full custody of us. My dad would just see us on the weekends. But after that, I believe my dad left to Mexico. And he stopped contacting us. He stopped being helpful and supportive. And at that point, I realized that I was just done with him. I don't need a father figure in my life. I don't need to be raised by another person, because my mom did perfectly fine.
So, given the history with your mom and your dad's situation, and then in the fire, and then him giving you the option of living with you, and you would look like you agreed to it, but once he went to Mexico, it's just kind of like he didn't try, and you were like, and you're grateful that he didn't.
I really am. I'm 23 at this point. That happened over 10 years ago. At this point, I really don't need a father figure in my life. I have outgrown that. I've learned everything from my mom, and that's all I need to know. And I wouldn't want to be in contact with him again, just because I feel like the hardest during my hardest times of my life, I was able to go through all of that.
Mm-hmm.
With my mom just got my side, you know.
Yeah.
You know, when the whole fire thing, he
It's okay. It's okay. Are you okay with speaking about it? Take your time.
he never just asked, you know,
Yeah.
if
you guys were safe.
If we were safe. Yeah, he never asked if we were okay or if we needed anything.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And that's like the turning point in your guys' life. And it shows that whatever he's done to the past, you're over it. Because now you have other support systems like your mom, your brothers. You have other support systems instead.
Yeah, definitely. And
that's why you're appreciative of them?
Definitely. A lot. And yeah, I'm just not in, I'm just living my life at this point, you know. Now it's my turn, you know. It's just to grow up a little more and just realize things by myself. Obviously, if there's any, if I ever need any help, the one person I can always turn to is my mom, you know. She's been by my side through everything, so she's the one person I would go to her for everything, you know. When it comes to either just, you know, grocery shopping, like, oh, what's the best deal, to just really important life lessons, if I ever need any help, mentally, financially, all sorts of things. She's the one person I always go to.
Okay. So it shows to me that this fire has shown you who to appreciate and to love and who to go to.
Yes. Yes.
And then who not to go to.
Definitely not to go to. And just, you know, just moving into that same neighborhood, I met a lot of great people there too, you know. A lot of people who I grew close to and that I'm still currently friends with, and that's the great thing about that neighborhood. Is just yes, my childhood home was lost, all my childhood friends, didn't get to see them anymore, but just coming into this new neighborhood, I got to meet all sorts of different peoples and people who I've been with, friends with for a very, very long time, and that I can trust and I can go to whenever I have any situation I need help with.
Yeah. It's nice to hear that you learned from it and you got so much and strong support systems to lean on. Well, I'm really glad to hear that. We are out of time, but is there anything else you want to add before we go?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing I learned from all of this is, and it's this one saying that my mom always told me. It's a saying in Spanish. It's a little difficult to translate in English, but basically what it is that God will put you in situations, tough situations.
Yeah.
But He will never let you suffer through it, you know?
Yeah.
He will always help you find a way to get through those tough situations, and I feel like that's what happened, you know? Yes, my childhood was lost. Lost a lot of valuables and just, you know, completely moving away and going through home and just finally establishing ourselves at a location that we've been for years. Tough route, but at the end of the day, where we stopped, where we made it, was just where I feel like you know, my life blossomed a lot more. Yeah. And I learned a lot. I met a lot of new people, and I'm just definitely grateful for for the current situation that I'm in, and living situation and life that I'm in.
It makes you appreciate life a little bit more.
A lot more.
Okay. Well, perfect. All right then. I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Oh, dude.